morning, my friends from Indiana. I am getting unloaded. I'm hoping it's a quick unload because I don't have a ton of time to get to the next spot, and it felt like an eternity to get to where I was going because it was all country roads, and then there were detours on I-20, or not I-24, it's State Road 24. It's already slow going because it's a 55-mile-per-hour road, and then you go through a ton of tiny towns, like one after another, so the speed goes 55, 45, 35, 25, 35, 45, 55, and it's just like up and down. It takes forever. And then one of the tricky things about driving through these types of more country roads and like small towns is that there are very, very few places to safely stop, and that to me is kind of the difference between a safe driver or an experienced driver and inexperienced driver, is being able to, on the fly, when you need to make a bathroom stop or whatever, to look at a spot and immediately assess whether or not it's a safe place to stop by visualizing what could happen if you stop there and it's not a safe spot. And there are many places that are simply not safe because, you know, it's just not enough of a pull off. There's not enough distance between you and other traffic that might be going by or whatever it is. And a lot of the gas stations, technically, like you'll even see them in Trucker Path, you could go in there, but it's not ideal. So you're already thinking like, how am I gonna get out of there if I go in? So that was my morning. At least the weather's been beautiful. That's something to be grateful for. But I'm really working to reframe my worries, because I learned this morning, after my awesome dispatcher came back yesterday from his sick leave, and he had apparently been really sick. He came back, he was back for a day. I was so happy to talk to him. I was so happy to get his call. I was like, okay, great. I can, you know, be good to go again with somebody who has been a driver, who is on top of things, who already has a load for me. When I'm on the current load, they've got the next one, they're planning ahead. And then I get a call today from the temporary dispatcher I had been working under, and I was like, what's going on here? And she tells me that he is no longer with the company. And obviously whatever happened is none of my business, but I was just like, you gotta be kidding me. So she's gonna be my dispatcher now. And I basically, as I've been working under her, it hasn't all been super short loads. Like I did have one like 1,100 mile run, but the majority of what I've been doing working under her has been 400 miles here, 300 miles there. It's just these short little runs over and over again. And I'm just want to be optimistic, but it's hard for me to be, because I can tell the difference of working for someone who is a driver versus someone who wasn't, and someone who doesn't anticipate things because they just have a different mindset. Maybe they have a lower level of experience. I'm not even sure, but I'm just like, it's like I keep saying, in trucking, there's no consistency. There's never a consistent, like things are going good and it's solid and let's go for a while. It's never like that. It's just a constant up and down and constant like effort to try to maintain your good attitude, because you're in the situation one way or another. But it's like, it's frustrating to be so willing to work and run hard, and to have your employer be the thing that stands in your way. Not just the employer, it's also the freight market, but it's like, it is the employer though, because they keep hiring drivers that they have to distribute the limited amount of loads to. So the company, all these companies are doing this, they all just cover their own asses, but they leave us in the wind. And that's a very frustrating but very real situation that many of us are dealing with. So I don't know what to say. I'm just gonna bide my time, and either I'm gonna end up staying or I'm not. You know, it's like I am determined to find a place for myself to work where I will make consistent income. And I know that's really tough in trucking, and this is a particularly rough time. I was watching the Smart Trucking live stream for a couple of minutes last night, and he was bringing up some really important points that I haven't discussed, but I think Dirk had told me this and I had kind of forgotten it, or maybe I had seen it on Smart Trucking. People who have a broader understanding of how freight moves than I do by far have pointed out that part of the reason freight is so limited in trucking is because more industries are choosing to move freight by train because it's too expensive to move it by truck because of the fuel costs. That's something I would not have even thought about. So that's why there are fewer loads and more competition. And then also, I think there's more that more of us are not aware of with the shadiness of the entire like freight brokering industry, and how those fuckers like, you know, book multiple drivers on the same load and then just cancel on multiple drivers. I think that's a very like ubiquitous practice, and it's just another example of the drivers being at the bottom of the chain, and because there's no good like labor protections for truck drivers that there are in certain other industries, that we can just get abused from every different angle, you know. That's my thoughts on that. I'm gonna eat something real quick, and I would really like to go do some yoga over in the grass there. And this is an example of like, it's a sunny day, there's a good space, although it's very, very dusty here. But I always feel uncomfortable because it would be like you're standing out like a sore thumb. There's like, you know, there's yard drivers buzzing around, and there's occasionally a truck coming in here, and there's just some random chick doing yoga over there in the grass. Like it's one of those things that bugs me. Like I would do it more if I didn't feel like so conspicuous doing it. I wish I had an invisibility cloak so I could go do some yoga and not be noticed. Dude, I just had the most intense day, especially the end of day. I shut down with 5 minutes left on my drive clock, and I was like watching Google Maps because that's where you get the most accurate like traffic info. I had like 3 different navigation systems going at the same time, you know, with Google just as the backup to show how long the delays are. There was a terrible accident in the Joliet area on that bridge, whatever that bridge is. It was really bad. The entire front of a semi was smashed. That driver, if they made it out, it was really bad. It's always so hard to see that. But someone was driving like shit, because that's what it always is. People driving too fast. I was in a hurry more than I wanted to be today, and I really don't like driving like that. I don't like being in a rush, but I wanted to make up for the fact that I had more downtime than I would like. And there's a beautiful sunset today. And for the fact that I now have lost my dispatcher, and I have somebody else who is not going to keep me running as hard as I want to necessarily. So what I'm doing is just doing my best to run as hard as I can when I am running, just to like, that way if I do ask for somebody else, if I'm not getting the miles I need, I can say, look, every time I have a chance, you guys see how hard I'm running. So I was right up around 600 miles today, despite having 2 stops and despite driving through tons of construction and country roads and BS today. I still managed to get a lot of miles under my belt considering. So I'm gonna take a shower now, and I cannot wait. It's gonna be the best shower ever. I'm so excited. Massage chair in the Ohio Turnpike. I highly recommend for the squeezing of the calves alone. Oh my god, it feels so good after sitting all day in that seat, I'm telling you. I'm doing some laundry. I just took a shower for free. The Turnpike is clean. It's much better than a truck stop, and I can't recommend it enough. And if every state had a Turnpike, this lighting is very bad. If every state had a Turnpike, trucking would be a very different experience for all of us. That's all I gotta say. This is designed for someone taller than me, but that's okay. We're gonna let it ride. Good morning, my friends from the Ohio Turnpike. I'm taking a 34 here, and I'm so glad that this was close to where I'm gonna be dropping off, that I could stop here, because it's so much better than a regular truck stop. It's much cleaner. I'm pretty sure this is the same location I was at a year ago in the winter when a mouse came into my truck, which was actually really cute and didn't really freak me out. It was like super cold outside, and that mousey was just looking for a warm place to go. And that was the first and last time I saw a mouse in my truck. That was different company, but anyway, you get so lonely on the road if you don't have a pet that even a little visit from a mouse will give you a little charge. I got my laundry done yesterday, which was really nice. I got my Walmart running, so I wouldn't have to do it today. I was like, you know what? Fuck that. I'm not going to be having to do anything on my 34. I'm going to have a nice, relaxing day. And I've been kind of lazy about exercising lately because I was sick, and I've been like low on energy, running really long days, and feeling kind of demotivated. So I was like, well, I'm at a place where there is no excuse not to go for a walk, because there's a lot of room here and there's not a crazy amount of traffic, so it's relatively safe as long as you pay attention to what's going on around you. So that's pretty much all I got right now. I'm gonna enjoy my day. I'm going to edit some video. I'm gonna drink some coffee, of course. And yeah, I'll catch up with you guys later. Here's something fun. Guy in that truck right there behind me just now, as I was walking, I was about to walk around the other side of that truck for whatever reason. I'm just walking, but I see his head sticking out and I see a stream coming out. This motherfucker just took a piss straight out of his truck right on the ground. There's bathrooms literally right fucking over there. Hey, happy Sunday. I'm just kind of winding down on my 34 and it's been a really nice day. It was really nice today to just not have to go anywhere. And I walked a bunch of laps for like at least an hour around this lot, and I was able to find a sort of private-ish area to do some yoga earlier, and it was just really nice. I feel pretty well rested, and I slept. And also I gotta say, to have daylight saving time start when you're on a 34 couldn't be better. To have an extra hour on your 34, that's like an amazing gift. So I am very grateful for that. Although it's I just saw, you know, a post on Instagram about, you know, what it does to your brain and all, you know, people are more likely to have heart events and stuff like that when the time changes, which I wish we would just do away with it. I don't understand why they don't just make it happen. You know, it seems like it's something that enough people could agree on. I was thinking, man, I wonder how much that affects us as drivers more than we may realize, that we go in and out of different time zones all the time, because it's like we're dealing with the changes that totally throw people off a couple of times a year, but we're dealing with that sometimes like day to day, week to week, you know. Like I was in Mountain Time last week on Monday, Sunday. When was that? Monday? Ish, around that time. And then, you know, ended up in Eastern Time at the end of the week. And so that's a big transition. And then on top of it, you have the change in you know, daylight saving time starting up again. So anyway, what else was I gonna yammer about? I feel really frustrated that I haven't put up any content this week already, and I'm just kind of like not getting as much stuff out as I would like to. And I always have ideas. I have a lot of ideas, but it's been tough because I'm running through almost my whole clock every day. And at the end of a 14-hour day, when I know I only have 10 hours before I need to start again, I just a lot of times don't have the motivation to just do video stuff. So I feel like there's an ebb and a flow. There's times when I am a little bit more frequent with the postings, and sometimes it's not like that. So I know people are understanding about it, but I really prefer to have more consistent stuff out. And then also just ideas that I have for things I would like to capture that might require a little bit more tech savvy on my part or whatever. One of the things I've been wanting to talk about that's been on my mind, which is always on my mind, and I think always on the mind of people who drive trucks, is the unnecessary danger that is created by car drivers. I just saw a post. It was on YouTube Shorts, and it was a guy driving a Pete, and he was driving down a mountain. Tell me if you saw this video. It did get like multi-million views, so you may have seen it. There's another truck in front of him whose brakes are smoking, and he's trying to tell that driver on the CB, because the driver apparently is riding their brakes down this mountain, which is obviously not something you're supposed to do. And his brakes are about to catch on fire, and that driver is oblivious because he doesn't have a CB, which I don't have a CB in my truck. Part of the reason I haven't wanted to get one is that I want to avoid a lot of like negative stuff that I think people might be saying on it, but I don't think that's a good reason not to have one. I think it's probably like an important basic safety thing. Not to mention, it's a good way that you can let other drivers know of things that are going on that they might not have seen yet. Like, I love to be that person who can give someone a heads up about something. So I am going to at some point get a CB in my truck. But someone in the comments, there were some really interesting comments. A lot of them were clearly by people who don't drive trucks, and I thought it was so interesting how many of them were like, you're an amazing driver out there for helping this guy, and like, you know, it's so great to see someone who's such a conscientious driver, something like that. And it made me realize that I think the perception of most people who don't drive trucks is that truck drivers are all assholes and that we're all like aggressive. I think because enough of us are aggressive, that car drivers take it as though we all are like that. And I want to be like, a lot of people out here help each other when they can. You know, I've seen a lot of drivers let other drivers in and stuff like that. I let people in all the time, you know. Oh wait, I'm sorry, I almost forgot. So one of the comments was someone saying that my dad or somebody was a driver and let me sit in the seat of the truck to get an idea and explained what they can see and what they can't see, and kind of showed me like looking in the mirrors and stuff. And I thought, man, I wish more car drivers could see things from our perspective, because that has a lot to do with why they don't appreciate things that are going on, because they don't have the same visual perspective when they're driving. So on that note, I was leaving the other morning to head out to my delivery. I think I was still loaded with a real heavy load that was like 43,000 something pounds. I had just gotten on the highway. I was on I-80 a little bit west of Joliet, and it's the speed limit there is, I think it had gone up to, it was around 70 at that point. I was doing 67, which is where my truck allows me to go. This car is sort of coming onto an on-ramp, and it made me think of, this is so random, but it made me think of those bumblebees that are like the big fat bumblebees that are kind of like, and they look like they're gonna like bump into things. They're kind of slow and like bumbly. I love those. Anyway, like the big fluffy bumblebees that aren't very like, they're not very aggressive in the way that they fly. That's how this driver was coming onto the highway. They're just kind of like, just going super slow, and like, I was like, okay, and my first thought was like, this driver is either drunk or looking at their phone. And they came up past me, or I guess I passed them, and I looked over, and this person was coming onto the highway with their phone in their hand in front of their face, looking down like this while they were coming onto a highway with a 70-mile-per-hour speed limit, with mostly trucks still on the road, because a part I didn't mention is this was a little before 5 a.m. It was still very dark outside. And I see this stuff a lot, and those of you who drive cars, who don't drive trucks, you may not realize, but we can see everything in your car. Like, we can see when you're on your phone every time. And the majority of people in cars are on their phones, and they're holding their phones in their hands, even though it's not legal. But, you know, there's so many people doing it. Most of the time, you're probably not going to get ticketed for it, although I wish you would. I obviously see truck drivers holding their phones too and looking at their phones, and that's a whole other level of fuckery. But here's what I keep thinking about, and this is a little bit maybe dramatic to some of you, but one of the things that I see so much as a truck driver, and I know other truck drivers see too, is a fuckload of roadkill. And it's kind of staggering, because I think you just don't realize how different it is when you're on the interstates for hundreds of miles a day, every day, how much more roadkill you see. I've seen some really heartbreaking stuff. The worst is dogs. I've seen a couple of dogs. I've seen some cats and kittens. I've seen a shitload of deer, of course, we all see them, and other small animals, and foxes, like, you name it. What I would like is for more car drivers to just take a ride on the interstate. Now, you're not going to see the same thing, because when we're on a higher up perspective, we see a lot more detail of the things that are out in front of us and on the side of us on the road. When you see the amount of blood that is across the whole highway, you see just how much damage these vehicles do to these animals' bodies. You see the broken bones. You see them completely rearranged, shredded, torn apart. It gives you a different appreciation for the danger. And I just want every driver to I want these drivers to look around at some of this, these car drivers, to see some of this, really look at it, make yourself look at it, as disturbing as it is, because sometimes I had to train myself to not look at it, because some of the things I've seen will haunt me. And I want you to imagine not just, you know, your body being turned inside out and your bones being broken and your legs and your head going the wrong way, but maybe also your body being embedded with shrapnel from your vehicle, or your engine now being a part of your torso, your head no longer being on your body. These are the kinds of things that do happen to people who get into accidents with trucks in their cars. And when you're entering on an on-ramp onto a highway where the trucks are doing anywhere from 65 to 75 plus on that highway, and you're just looking down, you're not even looking at what direction your car is moving in, you're telling yourself that you're willing to have that outcome for yourself. And it's just astonishing. I feel like I can't say it in a way that's dramatic enough, or gives it enough credence, or like does justice to it, because it's just, it's so upsetting and it's so constant. And then people who drive cars have the audacity to act like we are in their way when like their car, their clothes, their food, their everything, their home, everything they have and everything that sustains them gets to them via trucks. And what I want to tell those people is, number one, please respect us. And please have a little just common sense about the fact that we don't want to hurt you. That's the last thing we ever want to do. We're just trying to do a job. And what so many people don't realize is that if a car gets into an accident with a truck and those people in the car die, or someone in the car dies or is badly injured, guess who's going to get fucked for that? The truck driver, every time. Truck drivers can go to prison. Truck drivers can end up completely never going to have any money again because they lose lawsuits, because lawyers will come after us, and it doesn't matter if we're found to not be at fault. That happens, but we still end up screwed because of the way the law comes down on CDL drivers. That's all I got to say. I wish I had something more powerful to show you, like some actual video, because I see so many things happen every day, and it really blows my mind, the risks that people take in their cars, and the cockiness, the hubris that like your body is not stronger than 80,000 pounds of metal that is barreling down the road that takes the length of a football field to stop. Your body can't withstand that. Like, no. There's nothing that's that important on your phone that you need to be looking down at your phone when you're driving a car, when it's dark outside, when you are merging onto a highway full of trucks. Just doesn't make any sense. All right, that's all I got for you. Here's my lecture. Yeah, I wish I had more interesting stuff to say. I'm trying to just manage my thoughts around the current situation of having lost my awesome dispatcher. I miss you, man. You're great. And hoping that I can stay in touch with him. I was actually daydreaming the other day. I was like, man, I wish I could lease a truck and somehow hire him to like do the load boards for me and get my loads, because he's fucking awesome. So anyway, I hope you guys are doing great, whatever you're doing, and I will try to get some more interesting stuff out to you. For now, you're just gotten to listen to me yammer, and I hope that's interesting enough for you. And yeah, be good, and get off your fucking phone, and I'll catch you later.